Okay. So it's just a system, okay? We use it in roadshows all the time, and I think it's been great. First of all, you gotta understand what closing means, okay? Again, most people think closing means exchanging money for an item or a service. That necessarily doesn't mean closing. You think about closing, think about real estate, right? You think about stuff like that. Close, at least for us, doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean selling, even though it could. Closing means what? Anybody? Yes, say it.
When the person like agrees to what you're gonna give them, like they want it.
No.
Like moving forward.
Almost.
When you're closing, you should basically avoid silence because you're already going towards the end. You should close with action, no hesitation.
Those are great things to do during a close, but that's not it. Yes.
Like when you reach a conclusion about like what you're kind of.
No. Think about the 5 steps, guys. Who said that? Yes. The close. What if somebody ever asks pop quiz? What does close mean? It means to assume the same. Like when I ask that question, it's typically what kind of question?
Yes.
It's a yes or yes
Yes.
question. I say, hey, debit or credit, or I say morning or afternoon, or I say cash, Venmo, cash out, Zelle. That's closing. You're giving a bunch of options, but what do all the options mean? That you're buying, right? Like when you pull up to a drive-through, they close you. What do they say? Cash or credit. Pull up to, or they do this, pull up to the window. Does that make sense? Like, and that's why it's so natural when you guys teach people, you teach sales, is you have to relate it to a something. When you guys are talking to your new people and they get nervous, you gotta use something that they're familiar with. If they work at a drive-through, if they work at a gym, you're like, you don't, at a drive-through, nobody's ever asking me like, hey, would you like, okay, cool, got emailed, cool, would you like to pay for it today? No, sometimes people think close is rude. Sometimes people think that closing, asking that question could be, if you're melancholy or a phlegmatic, it could be like they're a little intrusive. But no, if you add a smile, Chang's really good at it. Cash or credit? See what I mean? Hey, so today is gonna be $12.99, debit or credit? Morning or afternoon? And typically what you do is you wanna take your eyesight away from the person's eyes because that creates pressure, right? So point is, that's where this system starts. This system starts at the close, okay? So it's a circle. And basically the system we use, it's a system to get the second no. You guys all remember we say 2 no's and go?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So it's a circle, okay? We're gonna draw a little circle, but it starts at the close. So the system only starts once they say the first no. So I say debit or credit and you give me some excuse. Does that make sense? You give me some sort of, what's that? I gotta talk to my husband. You close. So you basically get a no. And then what's the first thing you do? You acknowledge, you agree, right? Agree or acknowledge. You don't want to skip this, right? So you agree or acknowledge. No, I want to talk to my wife. Same for me. You guys see that post that Julia put this morning?
Yeah.
Say, I want to talk to my wife. So I totally get it. I wouldn't make decisions without my wife, okay? But you have to agree with them, because if not, they don't listen. Then after this, you can call it a rebuttal or bullet. Maybe rebuttal. And really what this is, I'm gonna put like 1 to 2 key facts. Like I'm gonna remind them 1 or 2 things about the product that make the product relatable. Make the product still a great product for them. Okay? Hey sir, debit or credit, or hey sir, morning or afternoon. No, I have to talk to my wife. Okay, I totally get it. If I was you, or myself, my spouse, like I totally get the communication and talking. The thing, and then insert a key fact. Could be whatever. Like the thing about this offer is that it expires today, and there's actually a month to month where you don't have a contract. And then you go to here. Here you can, the last step is you do fear of loss and greed factor. Mary, I might be overcomplicating it. Feel free to chime in.
Okay.
But I think this is pretty simple. How would you put it, Mary? Here's my method. If you want to write down quoting how I would use it. Hey, my wife. I gotta talk to my wife. I totally get it. If I bought a cookie without my wife's approval, she would divorce me. The thing about it is that the offer expires today. That has a little bit of fear of loss. Think about it, the offer expires today. What most people find out, or hey, what your neighbor Maria next door said the same thing, and what she found out is that there's actually a month-to-month thing, and the offer expires today, so then you've got to close again, debit or credit. But you have to get that second. Now the conclusion is 2 no's and go. Does that make sense?
What was the fear of loss example you just used?
I use a fear of loss example of another with greed factor. Like, hey, the thing about it is the offer expires today. So what most people don't realize is, and these two are like the same step. You know what I mean? It's most people don't actually realize that I'm addressing their issue, right? Why do they want to talk to their wife? Because either A, they don't want it, and that's just the excuse that they use, or B, they actually want to run it by their wife, which is unlikely. Because, like, what kind of man needs to run by their wife to buy water? We used to get that all the time on water, right? You don't need to run it by your wife, you just don't want to say no because the customer doesn't have enough of a self-image, or because they just think you're very nice, right? I acknowledge and I agree, I make it jokey, and then I explain how a different customer had the same problem and still bought it. Just insert fear of loss and greed factor. This is really explaining how a different customer had the same problem and still bought it. But then you have to close again. Most people pause right here, and it's never a closing circle, it's like a closing, it's not a closing nothing, because they pause here. If you don't close again and ask for money again, debit or credit, and there they give you the second no, you can bounce. Does that make sense? Hey, I want to talk to my wife. Hey, I totally get it. I run everything by my wife, or hey, look, I'm not married, but I totally understand how it could be a decision for both people. Look, we actually just spoke to Maria, who lives next door, and she had the same issue. What she realized is that talking to her husband could be later, because this is a month-to-month thing. It's not actually a contract, so it doesn't really matter. So that's what she ended up getting. So the offer wouldn't run out right now, since I'm here and the offer is still available. So we can do morning or afternoon. Which one of those works best for you? That make sense? And then I shut up. And I say no, I leave. Hey, no worries, have a good day. But you will find a lot of yeses on that second no.
This is what most guys do.
Come here, because this is recording.
Because usually what happens is whenever someone gives you a no, you just air it out and move to the next situation versus actually addressing the concern, which is hence the bullet. Now, once I'm giving them, hey, the bullet, the information to answer the question that they need or the problem or the statement, in this situation, oh, I don't do anything without my spouse, I'm going to address it, but then utilize fear of loss to go back into the close. Does that make sense? So it's understanding ABC, but also versus air. I'm not just going to ignore what they said, because in return, I'm not really closing the person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any questions about that?
Everybody understand air versus ABC? And this is a quick workshop for mentally, okay? Air. When do you use air and when do you use ABC? It's very simple. You only, go ahead.
Air for early rebuttals to get to the first one.
Yeah, and look, to be more specific, for no thank you and not interested, they're not giving you anything to bullet.
Right. When you have the ABC, you're able to address their
Yeah,
actual,
like the wife, the money, the
You
time,
can
all
give
of these
them a
things.
solution.
But when they're like, no thank you, not interested, I'm still gonna get a second no. So then I air, which is agree, acknowledge, and resume. Hey, morning or afternoon? No thank you. Look, I get it. We just gotta wrap it up because at the end of the day, the offer's expiring. So it'll be really fast, no concerns, morning or afternoon. No thank you, bye. ABC goes for everything else, which is really every excuse on the book. That makes sense? You guys understand?
Yes.
So again, hey, teach your new people, and here's what I would love for you guys to practice. And let me know if you guys want to do phone examples. But teach your new people, tell them no and see what they do. Don't teach them this yet. On the practice pitch, practice the end of the pitch where they're supposed to make the sale, and tell them no. And watch how they typically will stop. They're missing out on about, that's the difference of somebody doing par or below par. You know what I mean? Pay attention. Teach your new people to get a second no. It's like a game. No.
Ooh, I know.
They're like, no. Why not? And teach them how to listen so they can agree, rebuttal, insert something, greed factor, and close again, and ask for that money twice to every single customer. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Questions? No questions? You guys want to watch Tommy live doing this?
Yes.
Okay, because it's going on video.
Yeah, well,
Well, Tommy will close it out of me. Tommy, you ready? We're doing it.
Oh, we're doing
We
it.
already announced it. So you're gonna close me. I'm gonna tell you some crap, and you're gonna agree, bullet, fear, loss, fee, greed factor, and close me again.
Cool. Let me see that Tommy link.
We need it. Yeah.
Do mornings, afternoons work better for you?
Man, is there any way you can come back later? I should with my wife or something.
Hey, I completely get it. I gotta talk to my wife about everything. I'm making a decision out there. I'm on the couch. Nobody wants that, right?
Yeah.
But all your neighbors found out that when the text comes in the area and the slots are limited. So like I said, the mornings, afternoons works better for you.
I guess the morning.
That dress,
Just like that.
Tommy.
You see, he addresses, he
It was
jokes a
me.
little. Hey, he's
It was
relatable
the week.
to the wife thing. He relates. I would say don't lie. If you're not married, don't say that stuff, right? But you can still relate if you're not like you don't have to be at the North Pole to realize that there's penguins out there. There are penguins. And you don't have to go there to know that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But don't lie. I would disagree with lying because then customers they smell the bluff. They smell the bluff. They're like, yeah, you don't actually whatever. But yeah, again, if I was married. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Kyla? Same, it's the same mindset throughout the whole pitch. So if I'm getting to a point of where they're saying no, I'm doing this same circle, and then instead of closing is keep going. Like what you said earlier, advancing in the pitch / closing, 2 no's and go. Somebody's in the intro saying, I don't have time right now. I'm like, dude, I get it, I don't have time either. That's actually why they sent me, because I'm in a rush. Most people don't realize that it takes less than a minute. What's your email? And then instead of closing for money, I'm closing for whatever the next step is on the portal or on the, where else could it be? I don't know.
But I'm not even getting the speed test.
This is a different problem, kinda. You're not getting speed test is your intro, it has nothing to do with this.
It's close.
This is a closing circle now. Any questions? Does that make sense?
yeah.
Cool.
Makes sense. I like it.
And I used to teach this, new guys we used to have 9 marketing systems that we used to teach. Every new guy would have to teach them twice before they got into leadership. This was one. That was really cool. Chang made one up called How to Run a Successful Solo Day. For retail, I can rescue it for you. We can adjust it at the door, but it was like the new guy would have to get qualified to leadership. They have to do 3 successful solo days, which means there's no leader around, nobody around, just you alone in the store, and you would have to do X amount of sales by yourself. And it was like 9 steps, and it was like step 1 was like getting there 15 minutes early. It was really cool. You would have to teach that system, and yeah. You want to stop it, Margaret?
Yes, sir.